everybody? Welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show, and today I'm here to talk about Superman. Now, I was gonna make this video just about the whole Henry Cavill thing, which I will talk about. But also, I think, depending on how much I feel like talking about the Henry Cavill thing, I think I'm gonna talk about what Superman can be and what James Gunn's planning on doing, or at least the rumor of the direction James Gunn planning on going with Superman, because James Gunn from day one, from like the beginning when he took over, said that Superman is going to be a very important part of his universe. He also, of his universe, is like he's going to be the most important part of the universe, which is how it should be. Superman is DC's #1. Unlike Marvel, who has had their characters kind of all over the place, because you would probably say in Marvel, Spider-Man is their #1. But Marvel has their characters all over the place, so they've had to kind of shift, because for like the MCU, Iron Man and Captain America were their #1. For Sony, Spider-Man was their #1. For Fox, the X-Men were their #1, and then Deadpool became their #1. At Marvel, the #1 most important character is a ever fluctuating thing, where at DC, it's a clear-cut Batman and Superman. Superman to a more, I think, a bigger extent, because Batman has had multiple incarnations now, multiple successful incarnations. He's had multiple successful animated shows. He's had multiple successful film franchises. I mean, his last 2 film franchises, technically, with the Batman as a solo act, have been successful. But Superman hasn't. Outside of the Christopher Reeves old, Superman films, Superman's film in movies hasn't been successful. Man of Steel, while it may not have been a bomb, it wasn't that it was a financial disappointment. And from what and for everyone who's so sad about Henry Cavill being dropped off as Superman, because that was the big news that came out earlier today, well, not even earlier, yesterday, is that, yeah, Henry Cavill is officially done not playing Superman. He posted it up on his Instagram that he's not playing Superman anymore, that he had a conversation with James Gunn, and that they parted ways on it. James Gunn also commented on it and confirmed that they parted ways on it. The thing about it is, while I always thought Henry Cavill had a great Superman in him, and that he was perfect casting from a, what's the word I'm looking for? From a physical standpoint, if we're going off of the appearances we've seen from him in the DC films, then I didn't know how to feel. Like, everything that that anyone would say about Henry Cavill's Superman, about what it could be, it's all hypothetical. All we have is this evidence of him being, in these Zack Snyder movies, and he wasn't particularly that great to me. He wasn't. And the thing is, Henry Cavill's Superman, just like Ben Affleck's Batman and just like all the rest of the casting, has the Snyder Cut stink on it. They can't keep any of this. Not really. Because all of it has this Snyder Cut stink. And the only way to get DC on track is to get rid of it all and do it over. And to give it a fresh coat of paint. That's the only way to go. Now, you can probably bet your ass that nothing's going to happen to the Suicide Squad. Although, there's only one member of that original team outside of Amanda Waller who's still around. So it might not be that big of a deal. But I digress. It's sad to see Henry Cavill. Like, only reason I'm kind of sad for Henry Cavill is because clearly he was passionate about playing Superman. And I don't care what anyone says. It's pretty obvious to me that he dropped out of The Witcher to do this. That he dropped out of The Witcher thinking that he was going to do some more shit, thinking that he was going to do some, like, sure. There are things that I saw behind the scenes, like maybe Henry Cavill and the director and the writers were having disagreements. But I'm curious if he would have had if these disagreements would have escalated to the point where he wanted to quit the show, if he knew he wasn't going to be coming back to play Superman. Because what else does he have going on now? Now, sure. Henry Cavill, he's got the Enola Holmes franchise to be in. Like, what else does Henry Cavill have to be in? Because, like, Henry Cavill is another one of those actors who, he is a good actor, and he is a fun actor. He just hasn't found the right project to utilize all of his skills to show him to the world at his fullest potential. There's a couple actors like that in Hollywood who really just haven't found the vehicle to be shown to the world at the level that they deserve. And Henry Cavill is one of those actors who needs to be the lead of a big franchise to get him out there. And Superman was going to be it. So I wonder if he is going to come to Marvel. Like, I get the feeling he just might, because it's just he needs this. He needs this big superhero spotlight, dude. He needs something like this. And he dropped out of The Witcher, so he literally has nothing big that he's in right now. It would probably be a good idea for him to bring himself over to Marvel and be Captain Britain. You hear me, Superwise? The Henry Cavill Captain Britain is coming. We have been talking about it for months, Superwise. It's coming. It is coming. Anywho, now on to the future, and on to some of the descriptions of James Gunn says he's going with Superman, which is what I've said from the very beginning. My biggest problem with Man of Steel, I dislike that movie with a passion, is that everything felt rushed. Because in the comics, and traditionally, him and Lois Lane's romance is a slow burn. In fact, nothing big really happens in the beginning of him being Superman. When he first becomes Superman, he's not doing anything that major. He's just working at the, how about that Daily Bugle? Daily Planet, you know, he's Lois Lane's, like, fucking chauffeur, basically. Like, not chauffeur, but he's her second, you know, going around, do this, carry this for me, Clark, do this for me, Clark. Like, that's basically who he is. He's underneath her, metaphorically, and she's just kind of dragging him around. He has a hardcore crush on her, and she doesn't really notice him like that. She makes the Smallville jokes, and, like, he's a farm boy in a big city. Like, there's a whole wholesome story when Superman gets to Metropolis. Like, there's an entire plot, like, thing around that. And he builds up the relationship with Jimmy, he builds up a relationship with Lois, he builds up the relationship with Perry. Like, all these things, and him being in this big city and being so excited about it. Like, there's a lot of, like, down-to-earth, wholesome stuff that makes you see Superman as the man, so when the superpower shit's going down, you know, it means more. And it's nice to know that James Gunn apparently wants to go in that direction. He says his Superman movie is going to focus on a younger Superman who's just working at the Daily Planet, who just started working at the Daily Planet, who just got to Metropolis. You know, and I like that. That's how you should do it, because that's how it happened. He didn't just, you know, like it was like Man of Steel, where he did this huge fight thing, and Lois knew who he was, and Lois knew he was Superman off the bat, and she thought that him cauterizing her wound was oh so sexy. Me and Steph make fun of that all the time. That Lois Lane and Superman fucking love story was so fucking rushed. It was just like, yeah, we're the two most attractive people in this movie, so we're gonna be together. Like, it's such old Hollywood bullshit. And like, literally, like, yo, an alien showed up and cauterized your wound. The last thing you'd be is like, oh, I don't get it. Zack Snyder handled that completely terribly, because the Lois and Superman relationship is one of the most important parts of that character, and it should be a slow build. It should be a trilogy, right? The Superman movie should be a trilogy, and the last movie should end with them getting together. That's how it should go. First movie, it should be like she still treating him funny and whatnot, and she doesn't know who he is, and like maybe she's like, okay. The second movie, maybe she finds out who he is in the second movie, and then the relationship's kind of weird, and in the third movie, then they get together. That's how that shit works. That's how that shit goes, because that's kind of how it is in the comics for the most part. Most versions of these characters, it's a slow build. Their romance is built over time. And like I said, Clark is a human being, and like in some of those comics, and like I can't remember like the specific comics off the top of my head, but some of those comics, he's just like you and me. If me and you grew up in a fucking, you know, small town, small farm town, and we went to Los Angeles or some shit, Las Vegas or New York, we'd be like, what the fuck? Like, yo, this is fucking nuts out here. And that's how he felt. He was just like, whoa, this is crazy, man. Like being here, like he's felt that way. Even though he has superpowers and can fly, he's still like you and me, and he was in shock and awe. And that's what you have to do. You have to make Superman relatable. You have to bring him down to earth. And Zack Snyder wanted no parts of that shit. Bringing a character down to earth is not on Zack Snyder's fucking it's not in his brain. He kind of went for a whole different vibe that was just, Whereas I'm already happy if the reports of where James Gunn's going with the Superman character are true, I'm already happy with it, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, the big question is, who should be cast as Superman? I mean, that's a big question. James Gunn's casting decisions are weird because they're never anyone you quite think. Like his casting decisions for Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, huh, okay. I wasn't thinking about him. Like, so I can't even guess who he's gonna get. But perhaps it would be good to look at James Gunn's past. There might be an actor or two he's worked with who he may see as a Superman-like character. It'd be good to look at his past and look at the actors in his past that he's worked with if you're going to think of someone he's going to get. But, man, like, I'm excited for the future of Superman. It's a character that Superman's one of those characters, a lot like Captain America, that on its surface, he's bland, but when you really get into the character, when you really get into the nitty-gritty, and when you really read the comics, or even look at some of the stuff in, like, Smallville and other renditions, hell, the stuff on Lois and Clark, when you really get into the character, you realize he's a more complicated character than you realize. You realize that he's a more interesting character. There's a lot more going on in his mind than you realize. Even in some of the animated stuff, when you get a peek behind in Superman's mind, you really do see how he's at all times balancing the responsibility of being the most powerful man in the world, while also being this farm boy from Kansas and having to balance the two on this, like a waitress bringing in plates of fucking food, just having to balance the two. And it's a very interesting thing, and I hope that James Gunn can nail it. I really do. I really do. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping for the best. But anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment below. What did you think of Henry Cavill being let go as Superman? And what do you think about James Gunn's supposed ideas for the future? Thank you guys again. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.